Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Karsgaard here with Josh Olsowich. Hey Josh.
Hey Brian, is this the 33K watch party?
33K watch party would be a better title than Crypto is Cute Again, which is what I put on the stream.
We started at 3:33 Eastern, technically, so
That's a good point.
the stars are aligning here.
Yeah, they were. I've ruined it. But here we are. We went from like basically peak doom, a week and a half ago, maybe even a week ago, to near euphoria with one candle. Granted, it's been a good candle, Josh. I don't blame anyone for being excited. Bitcoin is, at the time of recording, a little over 30K, $30,698.39, making new yearly highs, breaching the level that it hit in April. Looks like it could go on a little run here. How you feeling?
Yeah, no, it was peak doom. It was like, as an industry wide, crypto can die, whatever. As a Bitcoin maxi, like realistically, we don't want crypto to die as much as everybody says we do. We want, it's like there needs to be some trash in order to compare yourself to something to look better. To some degree, right? Like, we don't want outright scams. We don't want people just blatantly tossing money into garbage, right? But anyway, so yeah, all that was dead. It was literally with the last person in the United States, please turn out the lights situation. And then out of literally nowhere, BlackRock swooped in and said, we're going to launch this thing. And they'll probably get approved, right?
I mean, they have had one no vote of all the ETFs they've launched. I don't remember what the yes vote number is, but it's high. It's like 200 to 1 or 300 to 1 or something.
Yeah, it's like 575.
Oh, wow. To 1. I don't know what the 1 is that got rejected. I'm curious. But yeah.
Well, they're not going to just... BlackRock isn't the type of institution to ask for an application. Like, they have all their ducks in a row, right? They have influence, they have power, they have connections to the politicians, blah, 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 right? The list goes on. Eventually, this thing's going to get approved.
Yeah, and it seems unlikely that they would do an application without having a pretty darn good idea that it's going to get approved. So anyway, that got everybody got their Jimmy's rustled.
Well, this is the one thing that could actually save us,
It's pretty like,
I don't know what else could have done.
The conspiracy theorists get a bonus point on this one, though. Like, you sue Binance, you sue Coinbase, you go after all kinds of people, you say no to all the ETFs, and then BlackRock's like, oh, now that everyone's dead, I guess we'll pick up the pieces and do our application.
Yeah, but they've been working on this for a while.
I'm just saying, it's a bonus point. It's a bonus point for the conspiracy theorists.
I both agree with you. I'm 100% on board with that narrative. Also, they've been working on this for a while, So
I'm sure they have. I'm just saying, it's I don't like the look of it. I like the look of the chart that results from it. I will take it. That'll be fine. But yeah. So
I don't here's the thing. Like, people have been here for a decade trying to get this in, right? Winklevi, Barry, everybody else and their mother. And that's the part that doesn't sit well with me, right? It's all these people who legitimately are here for seemingly the right reasons, trying to get this thing through and just can't. And now here comes a wall of money saying, well, it's our turn. Sorry. See you later.
And then they get to just do it and then probably gain market dominance, because there'll be some like 3 or 4 month delay before the other ones. And then it'll get like, that ticker will get all the press and it'll win. BlackRock will win. And then the others will slowly get approved, but not get volume. It's so lame. It's so lame.
Well, there was 6 applications, I think, ish, or more. Realistically, just approve them all at once. Like, I don't get this whole game of oh, they were a day before me, so what is that? Like, who decided that's how these things are going to be? And the reason people are asking in the chat or talking about, like the impact of an ETF. I mean, it's all about accessibility. You don't have to deal with custody. It is not Bitcoin, crypto, how like people in a stream, if you're watching this stream, ETFs most likely not necessarily directed at you, right? Therefore, institutional, therefore people with money in brokerages, therefore banks, right? Therefore, whoever else who doesn't want to deal with moving money around, right? They just want to have something that they can access, that they can trust, that they don't have to worry about. And something with BlackRock on its name is huge, or iShares, whatever, BlackRock subsidiary. So that's better than anything Gary's going to say. That's better than any law that's trying to get passed, right? Because that's just like the rubber stamp seal of approval. This thing is the real deal. It's not going anywhere. And the other side, like from a regulatory standpoint, it's a huge like green flag for people. Like, okay, this is it, right? Like it's not going to get better than a BlackRock ETF, right?
Here's the real benefit here. CoinMav says, look, I just want to shove my 401k in, and he's right. Like that's what we all want to do with these products is, a lot of 401ks, or even if you take your 401k and roll it over to an IRA, you can go self-directed in a brokerage and you can put it in ETFs at a minimum, but typically like even single stock tickers of securities. It makes sense to put it out there. It makes sense. No one has ever given a coherent argument for why you can't do a spot ETF. So it's time. It's past time. Is it going to be a sell the news event, Josh?
Could be. I think initially it certainly might be. I mean, look at how we're like rocket shipping.
Yeah.
So
really,
it's kind of like
longer term. It should be like a stable flow provider, though. Like some people are just.
Well, I mean, you can compare it to gold. You don't really have to guess. We can look at the gold ETF. I think it was like 300%. Bitcoin isn't gold, blah, blah, blah. I get it, yada, yada. But, when you are literally inverse to legacy, which we have been for, I don't know, a couple weeks, that certainly helps a narrative of some kind. It helps when that narrative is extended over multiple months and years, which we are on and off as far as correlations go. But in general, this is the kind of thing that you're looking for to diversify a portfolio, in my opinion.
All right. So my question for you now is, at what point am I allowed to talk about Eth ETFs as a follow-on to Bitcoin ETFs?
I mean, we could talk about it until they solve the staking. Like, I think there's a really interesting case to be made for like a stakeable spot ETF. I just don't know what that would. I don't know like the plumbing well enough behind the scenes, what that would actually look like. Because then you're talking about some sort of like dividend type structure. I don't even know the words to describe it properly, but it's potentially possible, right? The biggest crime. Talk about GBTC, talk about whatever you want, but the fact that Eth does not stake, you are just losing on top of losing on top of losing. And that thing was at like a 60% discount. All those discounts have shrunk considerably. GBTC is like to 30, 33, 35, something like that on the discount side of things. If you are institutional, you're probably looking at those discounts and thinking, okay, if I want to actually get in before BlackRock, this is where I go. You're not going to go to Coinbase. You're not going to go to Kraken, probably, right? If you're an institutional player, you already have access to these vehicles. Like, that's why I think they saw the momentum that they've seen.
Well, I own some ETH, so I'm a full believer in narrowing the discount window there. Might as well just go up there and hit 15, a little 50% increase to basically just get back to par.
Well, all these measure, GBTC measures to like 22, 24 based on the falling wedge. But ultimately, I think it just look at the discounts. If the discounts are above 30, if they're above 15, like they're going to go to zero eventually.
Yeah,
that's the sentiment anyway. Whether or not that actually happens. On top of all this, there's the question of, did BlackRock apply before the SEC was able to lose their case against GBTC, which looks like potentially that's what's going to happen. Now, that doesn't just automatically convert the ETF, convert GBTC to an ETF, but that may be partially why they wanted to get in line at the very least.
More bonus points for conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like GBTC is going to win. There's no guarantee they convert. They're still raking in fees. Like the whole thing is just criminal beyond belief. But
so we're having fun with correlations on top of all this. Dixie up this week, S&P down this week, S&P down for the first time in a while. 5 weeks in a row prior to that of green candles and a run. I mean, there weren't really significant down weeks, a run going back to March 2023. Probably just some consolidation for the stock market, but
I mean, that thing was parabolic, you know.
In a stock sense, yeah, it broke out and spent 2 weeks going up only.
I haven't shared this publicly, but I took an NVIDIA trade from 235 and just sold it at 431.
Nice.
Mainly because I forgot about it. Like that's the best. Like, you know, you'll see these like studies on like who makes the most money. It's people who like don't look at their accounts often, people who forget their password, right? Like because I might have sold at, you know, any point up until 400, right? You know, that day when it breached 375 and that huge candle, that's probably like the day I would have let go realistically. But
yeah.
Anyway, so talk about an insane trade that was.
I need to find the day.
NVIDIA?
Yeah, because remember when I was testing Robinhood for my Flip co-founder Sam, I bought NVIDIA, I don't know, with a couple $1,000s, but it had to be close to the bottom. But I sold it way too soon and rotated in other things, and they still did well. But to your point, I should have just held on to NVIDIA and done nothing.
Well, I don't like on the legacy side. I don't like that. It looks like it's, you know, losing momentum. It's losing steam. You've got bear divs on everything. You've got, you know, if you're a fundamental person on the NVIDIA side or whatever, all that stuff just realistically, you know, can this go to 800? Sure, but based on, you know, PE ratios or whatever you want to look at, this thing's just blown out completely.
I legitimately have no idea how to find historical values and trades on Robinhood.
I don't think I've ever traded. Well, Robinhood's an interesting one to watch too, though, because a lot of retail has access, obviously, to crypto through Robinhood. We were talking about volume. I forget if we were talking about that in the pre-show or not, or just now. I don't know. I've talked a lot about this lately, but you know, people aren't going to go to Coinbase. They're going to go through CME or like real deal institutional money. So people are talking about like Coinbase Bitcoin volumes, right, declining. It's like, yeah, where is Joe Institution going to buy Bitcoin? They're going to buy it through GBTC. They're going to buy it through the CME. There was just another ETF approved today for leveraged 2x ETFs.
It was January 17th, by the way. Literally the little head and shoulders breakout there.
Yeah, great trade.
Yeah, well, then I sold it way before the 150% increase that it's had.
That's the lesson, the opposite, inverse lesson.
I know that. I'm just trying to prove your point. I think I probably sold it at 200. You know, I made 20 or 30%. Look at me. I'm a genius.
If I would have known it was there, I would have sold it much sooner too. So I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. NVIDIA, that looks, I bet that's bear div. Maybe kind of weekly bear div a little bit. Definitely daily.
Look, I'll take the 2x and a 2x plus. It can, like I said, it can keep going. But
I think if you're holding that, that's got to be what you're thinking at this point, right? Like anyone who's been in that for a while has got to be like really pleased with themselves. And
of course, but like at some point, just like with Bitcoin, like anything, like you get this waterfall, and everybody's got their price, right? So I'll take it. I'll take it all day long. It looks insane. Clearly, a bubble of all bubbles.
Shout out to the Bitcoin 200 week. Just saying. Right there. Boom. Like a springboard. Like it was planned. Historically, a recovery of such a moving average, a retest and a bounce, like that should be a very bullish move. And from a historical perspective, across pretty much any asset class, but definitely with Bitcoin in the past here and here. Spent a lot of time below the 200 week in this cycle, but that to me is the type of thing that you like to see for sure if you're a trend following trader.
We did the things we needed to do. We made the inverted head and shoulders. We broke out of it. We made a falling wedge. We survived at the neckline of the inverted head and shoulders. We survived the 200-day moving average. It all is lining up, right? Yeah. And more importantly to me as a TA guy, like there was a head and shoulders on lower time frames before the Coinbase news, before the Binance news, right? So there was already like TA setting us up for a breakdown. And before this BlackRock thing, there was already TA pointing to, potential reversals. So that's what I want to see. I want to see like the TA aligning with the catalysts for these moves, and that's what makes sense. So it looks good.
What's having a bad time is the ETH BTC ratio.
Just unfortunate, isn't it? I was arguing with Johnny Mo. Johnny Mo trades on Twitter. Great trader, great analysis.
Good friend of both of ours.
Good friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
But he's like fixated on this ETH chart, which I'm not going to disagree with. It looks phenomenally amazing. Okay. But the problem is until it's above 2,000, it's just second fiddle. Sorry.
Yeah, but there probably is going to be this catch-up trade. It just depends. Is it going to go to 0.05 or something first? Like how drastic can the discount get before it has a recovery? Because if Bitcoin goes up more, ETH will definitely move as well, but it might pause for throughout a lot of the Bitcoin moves. So can you kind of pull a double win in Bitcoin and follow it with ETH? Honestly, most traders should want that. Most traders should like to see the rotation rather than the everything floats together, because you get to win more than once. But yeah.
Absolutely. And we talked about that. I mean, we've talked about this for years repeatedly, that that's the best case, right?
Yeah. Like
so
I obviously still like ETH, but my altcoin exposure beyond ETH is very, very limited.
Well, look, if you're a profit maximalist, which the good listeners of this show probably are, then that's exactly what you want.
You want them well.
You want your 2x rotating into ETH and doubling down, getting another 2x out of that, right? And the thing with ETH too, all those chart patterns you're measuring on the spot, ETHUSD, point to 4K, whatever it is, right? Like there's a move to be made there eventually. It's just I think people are a little too psyched about it, right? As a breakout trade, I think you just have to wait on it, because look at the ETH BTC ratio. I mean, it's just. Plus, there's a hidden regulatory risk there that a lot of people just say, "Oh, that's not going to happen," right? Like if Gary decides to go after ETH, then we're in for some fun on the ETH BTC pair. But
yeah, I do think that this could go hit 0.05 at 200-week moving average on ETH BTC. Finally break down from this range. I could see it. I'm going to maintain ETH exposure during it, but I think it would be responsible to have some Bitcoin, even if you're an ETH maxi. I'm getting itchy to trade other things, but I don't have like some burning desire to do it yet. I think
the funny thing for me, just, I'm just going to pat myself on the back here, but so Kraken dropped staking, right? Because they have to, because of the SEC suit. So my ETH is liquid. I sold it a couple of weeks ago when it was at 1,800. Then I rebought BTC at around 25, 26 before this breakout. So it's, again, like that's the kind of trade you just want to keep rolling those moves between ETH and BTC if you're able to continually make those kind of profits, right? I mean, it's like a duh situation, but.
How do you feel about this cloud situation, Josh?
Cloud looks phenomenal. I mean,
you're not worried about the bottom of the cloud there?
No, because like we could get denied here at our birth rate of 33K. We could get denied and like rotate down the cloud. But I think as long as we hold that 25K level, we're totally fine. And if anything, it makes the edge-to-edge trade even better, because then you're going from 25 to 42 as opposed to 33 to 42, whatever, right?
Yeah, walking through this cloud would be nice, that's for sure. It'd be
And
basically a full year trade also, based on what I just did there.
yeah, and additionally, like, we're setting up for a bullish weekly Kumo breakout before halving, or just, approximately around halving, which is exactly what you want to see. So we are, if you're bullish now, just you wait, okay? Because on technicals, we aren't even above the weekly yet. I tweeted that out the other day. I said they don't even know we're not above the weekly cloud yet. Right?
Yeah. If Bitcoin were to trend, the true start of a bull market would probably be, based on this interpretation, would really be above 40K, 44. Like breakout from 42, 44 or whatever, the likelihood of 60K previous highs being long-term resistance is minimal at that point in my mind. And you would likely find opportunity for a new trend. But people thinking, okay, well, that's going to happen in 2 months I find that unlikely. I just think,
well,
I
you
think you got to
time,
work
right?
your way. Yeah.
This is why, you do your homework before we get to 42. Make your plan, make your trading route, and figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what else you'd want pre-halving than the largest AUM shop in the world saying, yeah, here's an ETF for you guys, right? And I'd imagine that the halving played a big role in, what they're doing. And they're going to BlackRock, and they're going to use that, right, in their marketing, as should everybody. So, people saying that the halving's priced in. Okay. Every halving is priced in, guys.
I was about to say, we hear that every single time.
But Bitcoin looks great on the daily. It looks great on the weekly. We might div out here. We might reverse down to what, like below 30. I don't know. Like, I'm not worried about it at all. Looks completely fine to me. Well, and to see things like GBTC get bought up, like, to me, that says there's actually like real money behind this idea that the BlackRock ETF will have some sort of impact. So I don't know. Maybe that's just hopium, but.
Is there anything you like from an altcoin perspective? Anything that you've been looking at? BCH is up like 30% today, I saw.
The problem with something like BCH isn't like the fundamental. It's like, where can you even trade that?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Maybe it's on Kraken or someplace. I don't actually know. I just don't look at it enough to even know.
Pepe coin up like 75, 80% off the bottom, 60% from the breakout. That worries me a little bit, but congrats to whoever is able to escape their pack. I can't imagine too many of those people are like new Pepe holders. But nevertheless.
For vibes in the chat, asking about BlackRock. So if you're following along with this ETF thing, there's two people, Eric Balchunas at Bloomberg and Jeff Seifert at Bloomberg. Eric has basically said, like, this was a massive surprise. He puts the odds at around 30 to 50% getting approved, because it's been a decade of people trying. Like, it's hard to just assume, like, yes, BlackRock's the biggest player in the game. Like, they're just automatically going to get approved. I think they will, because they wouldn't like risk their reputation on this, like, if they weren't like the real deal. So I think there's a 100% chance it'll get approved, probably before halving, I'd imagine, which halving's like 10 months. Let's say it gets delayed. Let's say, SEC just slow walks it for a while, which they can. But another part of this is just, I've been hearing a lot of people say in different ways that Gary Gensler is really pissing people off. So he doesn't have a lot of friends left, it seems like, in the Beltway, as it were. So that may play a part in this as well.
Yeah. I wonder why, like, what specifically is pissing people off?
Well, if he's trying to go for legacy, or if he's trying to go for like the treasury position, and he just like went too far, I don't know. I don't know. You've got people saying like this was inevitable. I think I'm more in that camp. Like eventually they were going to go after all this stuff. Which, by the way, guys, if you're listening, gals, get your stuff off Binance and Binance US. They're probably fine, but many other exchanges were probably fine before they blew up.
I don't think Binance is at risk of blowing up, but it might be at risk of being frozen.
There's just zero reason.
Yeah, I don't think there's a need.
You have all the time in the world. Don't use it as a bank. Trade there, whatever. But please, for the love of God.
Binance US in particular, in my personal opinion, I would not want to hold coins there.
No, and if you look over the past week, look at their Bitcoin prices, look at their stablecoin prices. There's no market makers there. It's lagging the market. Like it's not good news. So I would take action on those exchanges if you've got coins there for sure.
Josh, let's perhaps finish with some price predictions. 33K by July.
People want it to happen, and I want it to happen. I just don't want to jinx it. So it's funny that it lined up. Again, coincidence, right? Back in the day when the initial trade was a possibility in like 2018, it was based off of a pitchfork. That's why I gave it like a time component.
Seasonality wise, is Q3 typically a good quarter?
No, it's not. However, we've kind of flipped since institutions got here. Q1's been the good quarter, and so maybe Q3 is going to be the good quarter. I don't know. Things are definitely different though. This isn't just like Asia money trading OKEX futures anymore. This is US money as well trading CME futures. CME premium is another thing to watch for, forwardation, backwardation, however you want to think about that.
I keep being asked about Unibot. I just looked at it. I don't know what this is.
That's the funniest thing to me. Like this Bitcoin's up like what, 30% in a week, and people are like, "What about my shitcoin?" Like, guys, like I wish you luck, but I don't know what to say. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah, I gotta look up what Unibot is.
I just I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, you can't control the degenerates, Josh.
That's right. I can't control the Pepe people.
Unibot. Does it have a description?
Does it need a description? Let's be honest here.
Should we go to the website?
You're acting like this stuff matters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The fastest Telegram Uniswap sniper. Is this a joke? So Unibot is just a Telegram dex swapper thingy?
I feel myself slowly getting stupider.
And the fully diluted valuation is $40 million for a Telegram Uniswap sniper, which clearly needs a token.
Yeah. If you want to ruin a project, add a token. There you go. You're welcome. That's some free alpha for you. ETH, like I said, upside targets measure to like what, 2,000? Or sorry, 4,000. I would just wait on that until it's at least above 2,000 personally. And that could take another like couple weeks, I don't know. Like that could take some time.
Yeah.
So I personally am not going to jump the gun on that. Maybe until like mid-July to really see how these things sort out.
We've run into this many times. You just mentioned that Johnny was talking about it, but like ETH USD in a vacuum looks great. ETH BTC doesn't look so great. Is it forming a bottom on ETH BTC and about to break out, play a catch-up week, perhaps? Yeah.
Well, if your focus is like, I want to focus on ETH, I like ETH, I like the community, I like the stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to trade it. That's fine. I get it. I understand. And you're probably going to trade it better than somebody who's trading multiple things because you understand what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, look around a little bit, people. Don't get stuck on freaking Unibot trash. I mean, just come on. Like,
Depends on what your goals are, I guess.
I guess so.
A lot of people are trying to go, capture a 100x or something.
A lot of people have $100. They're trying to YOLO long some
Yeah.
absolute scam on. I get it. I understand. I don't know.
I'll tell you one thing: whoever's buying Unibot right now is definitely buying somebody else's much bigger bags, and maybe there's a greater fool down the road. But just keep in mind, you are a fool. You may not be the greatest fool that ends up holding the bag, but you are a fool. You're someone else's fool on something like that for $40 million for a Telegram bot. Give me a break. Yeah.
I was gonna say, before we go, can you just bring up the Russell Weekly? Someone was asking about that.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's gonna get people excited.
You're the like, as I've said before, as I basically say everywhere, I don't do this for the people. We do this for us. Okay, they're just lucky they get to listen.
I think this chart looks very bad. Very bad when compared to the move that the S&P had. Like, it had a little move off the bottom, but couldn't make any relative new highs. So it's just still consolidating. Very representative of what I would say the economy is probably feeling overall. Just a bunch of choppy sideways. And
can you explain what that is for people who have no clue? What the Russell 2000 is?
Oh, it's 2000-ish companies. It's like mid caps basically.
Okay.
So the NASDAQ 100 QQQ is the top 100 companies of the NASDAQ. Many people trade QQQ. The S&P 500 is 500 companies that all have to be profitable companies. They tend to be the biggest companies in the world. And then the Dow Jones Industrial Average is like 26 of the biggest companies that tend to be pretty boomerish companies. So as far as your indexes go, that's how you can think about it. So your Russell 2000 tends to be one of the more mid-cap types. So anyway, in that longer tail of companies has not thus far participated. So Tom Lee's been talking a lot about breadth in the market and whether or not we'll see.
He's got me blocked, by the way. I have no idea what he said.
Nice. You're so offensive.
That's a true story, by the way. That's a true story.
I believe you. So he's talking about breadth increasing. So if breadth increases, you should start to see the result on a chart like this. Thus far, we don't see that. So, yeah. And I think that makes sense. Some of the biggest companies in the world, established players, are managing to survive right now. And I think it's difficult out there for some of the smaller companies. So
I was thinking about this today. Like, where do you rotate? If you're like a legacy player, where do you rotate money into? Like, let's say you're in legacy, you think it's the top, you think everything's overheated. Like, do you just go collect your 5% on market, in cash, basically? Like,
yeah.
You just wait it out.
Another good point brought up by Timmer in the chat is that the index does also include a lot of regional banks. So that's definitely weighing on an index like this. So just something to keep in mind. Zab says it's basically 2,000 value trap companies, which I think is also a funny point.
I saw Yellen, was it today or yesterday, saying something about she expects more mergers in regional banks. So that's not great for them, for sure.
Amin says, why am I complaining about BlackRock, but then gets excited to fund them with my retirement accounts? And the answer is because I wish that the ETFs that get approved first were established players, to Josh's point, the other people that have worked hard and laid the groundwork. But I'll take what I can get.
The reality is, is the stuffy suit going to trust Gemini, or are they going to trust BlackRock, right? Like, yeah, that's just the truth. That's just the truth.
Yeah, it is. I don't really have anything else. If I have to bet, I would say that we have another green week next week and that we have follow through of this move. If we consolidate a little bit and, retrace back to 28, 29, I'd like to see a wick get made off of that and then follow through in the coming week after that. I don't think if this is a good breakout that we should spend too much time testing the retest of the, we should just go for it, honestly. And we should be significantly higher a month from now than we are today. Like
on BTC, I would definitely watch for like a 3 drives situation.
Yeah.
This is the third drive.
A 10 to 20% move here would make sense.
I'd watch for bear divs. I'd watch for rising wedge. I'd watch for head and shoulders. Like this, even on the 4 hour, I think would be enough. The previous 2 consolidations took like what, several weeks. I don't think this last consolidation is going to be that long. I'd also watch for a fake out breakout on ETH above 2K. I really think it's going to fake people out. I don't think this breakout is going to be the one. I think the next one is going to be the one. kind of like Bitcoin in 2019, right? Like it looked kind of just like ETH does now, where it looked like it's a slam dunk eventually. It just took its sweet old time doing it,
Yep. Fair enough.
And then just two other quick things. Watch for the inverse correlations or the non-correlations, like recoupling. I think that'd be a sign that things are kind of done in the meantime. And then I'd also watch those discounted crypto products as far as where those discounts go. If those discounts keep shrinking, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
If they
start widening back
widen, or if they kind of just people start ignoring that sort of thing, then we maybe towards the end of the rally we're on now.
I like that. That's good alpha. Let's leave it there. I don't have anything to add. Thanks everybody for being here. You can like and subscribe and all that good stuff to your heart's content. See you later.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely breathe. Oh, the chains, oh, the chains.